And so it is. We do welcome back a gentleman that's been part of the Coptic Fellowship for, heck, it's going on a decade and a half now, I think. Been through the training programs. He's a Coptic minister, and he's produced some wonderful meditation, relaxation, and self-help compact discs. And he also has some wonderful books, one in the offering tonight, too, Shortcut to Success, and all with Bob Huttinga. So that's one of the offerings tonight at the conclusion. Tonight's topic is going to be a good one, creative manifesting with Bob Huttinga. Let's welcome him up here. Nice work. Thank you.
Does everybody have a pen or a pencil? You're gonna need one. So many of you have heard talks that I've given here before at the Coptic Center. And when John asked me if I would do a workshop, I thought, this is a really good idea. Because lots of times when you hear talks given by individuals, you think about the material while you're doing it, but then you never go home and do the things that were recommended. A year or so ago, I asked if anybody had a bucket list, and suggested that you start a bucket list. Does anybody here tonight have a bucket list? Okay, excellent. That's what's important, is that we actually do something. So in a couple of weeks, we have New Year's. Yeah, you could probably grab one of the song books to use your background. I'm going to hand out something for you to write on here in a minute. But if you need something a little stiffer to write with, then use one of those.
I got those.
Yeah, just hand those out. Make sure everybody gets one. All right. There's more of these here if people come later. Anyway, so lots of times we wait until the new year before we start thinking about resolutions. And what we're going to do tonight is go through a creative process. And so you can begin thinking about what your resolutions are going to be for the new year. And give yourself a couple of weeks to actually kind of work on things and make your lists and get your goals going for the year. And lots of times people really don't take the time to do that. So let's look at the definition of creation. The process of bringing something into existence. That's the dictionary definition. Making something out of nothing. And then I always like to add nothing but thought. As human beings, we really do have the capability of creating. And I think that we don't really understand the magnitude of what that is. If we think correctly about something, we can bring that into existence. That's how everything that we currently experience exists. The chairs, at one time, were somebody's thought. And then they developed into, first wooden chairs, and then chairs with fabric, and then metal chairs. And so all through our history, we've had this continual development of concepts and ideas, and then physical manifestations of those things. So that's what creation is all about. The definition of manifestation is a clear appearance. The manifestation, we often think about it as similar to creating, but manifest means it appears. So we're going to give you a process that you can actually reproduce and continue to use throughout your life. So what is it that you desire to manifest? What is it that you wish to create for your life? Well, you have to ask, what is your life like today? Is there something you'd like to change? And so on your worksheet, after you write down your name, what would you like to change in your life? So I'm going to give you a minute or two to just think about that. Don't make a big deal of it. Just write down a few words, a sentence, something that you would like to change. Now, how often do we spend time thinking about those things that we'd like to change? Lots of times we don't really take the time to do that. Human beings are the only species on Earth that can think about thinking. All the other animals can think, but we're the only ones that can think about thinking. And T.R. Desjardins, in his book Phenomenon of Man, he called that reflection. We have the ability to reflect. So when we sit here tonight thinking about ourselves, thinking about something we'd like to change, we are doing that. We are reflecting. And we are the only ones in the animal kingdom anyway that have the ability to do that. Now think for a moment, how much time did you spend today getting ready to come here tonight? Hopefully you took a shower, you fixed your hair, you brushed your teeth, whatever. But you maybe spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe longer, maybe shorter. Everybody's different. But how much time do we really spend thinking about our lives? That bigger picture of what it is that we really want to experience. And the things that we don't really care about. So things that we want to change. So just think about that for a moment. We often spend more time fixing our hair than we do thinking about what we want our life to be like. So everybody here has nice looking hair, but what do your lives look like? Sometimes they're a mess. So, New Year's is coming. And sometimes people only spend a few hours a year thinking about this process. It actually should be done on a daily basis. And many times we do that without really thinking about it. We get up in the morning and we think about our plans for the day, or maybe before we go to bed, we think about what we're going to do the next day. These are actually very important processes. And when we do them with a little more intention, they can become extremely creative. So what are your goals? Now on your little worksheet there, I want you to write down a goal in each of those 5 categories. Again, it doesn't need to be anything lengthy, but a few words or a sentence. Relationships and family, career or retirement. If you're retired, what are the things that you're doing in your retirement? Humans have to have purpose. And one of the things that we see happening in the medical field is that when people retire and don't have any purpose for their lives, their health begins to deteriorate. And many times people pass a few years after they retire. What about recreation? Where are you going to travel? What are you going to do for fun? And that can be on a weekly basis, like getting together with your friends and playing cards or social events, or it can be that trip. Barb and I are going to be gone for 3 months, and we've been doing lots of planning. We don't just go to one place and sit in the sun for 3 months. We like to travel and go to a variety of places. And what about your money? Some people who are retired say, well, I can't do anything because I'm on a fixed income. Well, Barb teaches a class with, what's his name, Barb?
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey says, get another job. Deliver pizzas. Do something. If you don't have enough money, if you're on a fixed income, don't get stuck there. If you need more money, figure out a way to do that. And then your health. And included in your health is, how long do you plan to live? In our whole culture and our teaching today is that we're going to retire about age 65, and then we're going to slow down, and somewhere in there we're going to pass away. But what we do need to do is start thinking about it in a different way. Thinking about it like, okay, so I'm going to retire from my regular 9-to-5 job, but what am I going to do to fulfill myself? What am I going to do with that time, something that's productive? And when do you plan to die? I'm going to die around 96. So, and I've been programming myself like that for over 20 years, that around the age of 96, I'm going to pass away. Now, when you say 96, the image that comes into the mind of most people is sitting in a nursing home, drooling in the corner, you know, somebody wiping your butt every day. I don't plan to be like that. Barb does a dance class, and there's a woman in there that's 100 years old, and line dances better than some of the 60-year-olds. Why? Because she thinks different. She thinks that way. She's not putting herself in that nursing home or sitting in the corner and getting ready to die. So we have to think about those things. We have to plan those things. And we do literally have control of that. One of my mentors was Jose Silva, and his theory was that the human body was designed to live until 98, and we should die in perfect health at the age of 98. We shouldn't die because our body deteriorates. We should die because we choose mentally and spiritually to exit, to go to another incarnation. And he actually got pretty close to that. He died around age 95, and he had a meeting with his family. He said, I'm going to die tomorrow. And they went through, he talked with each kid, told them what he wanted them to do, did all his financial preparations, and the next day he passed away. Now that's how we should end this incarnation, with purpose, not because our body falls apart. So part of these goals that we have to have for our life is looking at our health and planning, and then thinking about dietary changes, supplements, homeopathic remedies, natural medicines, that will allow our body to continue to be healthy. When I was around 40, I had this terrible knee pain, and I could squat, but I couldn't get up. Anybody have that experience where your knees hurt so bad? Well, I was working for Dr. Bourne at the time at the Bourne Clinic, and he said, oh, you need this supplement called Osteobiflex for your joints. And it's a combination of chondroitin, glucosamine, and MSM. And these three things help your body repair cartilage. So every day we're damaging our cartilages, but we have to have the right stuff in our diet to rebuild it. Now, when I was in school, we were taught that your cartilage can't repair itself. But that's actually not true. Your cartilage can rebuild itself, but you got to have the right stuff. Now, the problem with our American diet is that stuff is animal cartilage. Well, that gristle on that steak, most of us, what do we do with that? We feed it to the dog, right? So we don't usually have enough of that in our diet. When you're young, you eat cheap hamburger, and that cheap hamburger has lots of that cartilage in it. But then when you get more affluent, you start buying ground round and steak and things like that, and you stop getting those things in your diet. Well, after 4 days, my knees were better. And I continue to use that supplement and still use it today. So I see many people who are in their 50s and 60s, and they need hip replacements and knee replacements. And it's simply because they didn't have the right stuff in their diet. So if you have a goal here to live to be 96, you're going to get intuitive information, or somebody's going to tell you something, or you're going to read an article about how to get there. And you're going to do the right thing to make the right choices. All right, so I want you to think about one of those goals that you just wrote in one of those 5 categories, and write that down on that, in that blank. So why is it that lots of times we don't achieve our goals? Well, sometimes we talk ourselves out of it. I hear people say, well, I'm going to do this or that, and I'm going to try to get there. Or I really can't afford it. I really would like to go to Hawaii, but I can't afford it. So they set a goal and they uncreate it by that second statement. And many times we don't feel that we deserve it. Maybe we've done some things in our lives that we don't really like about ourselves, and we have poor self-esteem. So we don't think we really deserve these things. And then lots of times, old memories and old outdated programs influence us. And many times, it's because we don't have clarity about our goals. We don't really know exactly what we want to achieve in our lives. So, I want you to think about that thing that you wrote there in that blank. I'm going to have you close your eyes for a moment and think about those words and feel what you feel in your chest. What do you feel in your heart when you think about those words? Now open your eyes and write down on your paper, what did you feel in your chest? There's no right or wrong here, just whatever came to your mind. What did you feel? Did you feel pressure? Did you feel lightness? Did you feel joy? Did you feel sadness? What did you feel in your chest? All right, now close your eyes again. And what do you feel in your gut when you think about that goal? So in your abdomen, just under your rib cage, in your solar plexus area, what do you feel there? Do you feel any discomfort? Do you feel happiness? Do you feel certainty, joy? What do you feel there? And now open your eyes again and write that on your paper. What do you feel there? And now close your eyes again and think about what words are in your head. What do you hear in that little voice in your head when you think about this goal? What is it saying? What do you hear? And now open your eyes again and write down some of those words. And be honest with yourself. What did you hear? Did you hear, I can do it? Yes, it's going to happen. Or did you hear, what are you thinking? Somebody, do you have a pen? Somebody have a pen you can loan to him? So let's talk about self-talk. Think about what you just wrote down in terms of what you heard in your head. And what did you feel in your gut? What did you feel in your heart? So let's talk about self-worth, because that's feelings and self-talk. And those things go together. So sometimes we hear things like, who do you think you are anyway? You're never going to amount to anything. These are old programs. These are old sayings that some of us heard when we were children. And if you heard that, unless you purposefully undid that old program, it's going to still be there. It's going to be in the background. You might not even know it's there. The words, I can't. I'm going to try. What happens if somebody says to you, I'm going to try to be there? You're not going to count on them because they're not going to be there. It's a kind of a way to say no without actually saying no. So when we say that to ourselves, I'm going to try, that is not likely to happen. I hear people say, well, I'm working on that. Well, working on that is a process of doing something but not achieving. So when we think about our goal, we want to think about it in terms of actually achieving it, as if it's already completed. Now I hear this a lot. I'm not smart enough, or I'm too old, or once in a while, I'm too young. I'm on a fixed income. I deal with a lot of older people in the healthcare business, and I hear this a lot. Well, we can't go south because we're on a fixed income. Well, that's not true. If you're on a fixed income, you can unfix that. You can do some things to create more income for yourself. I'm sick. I'm tired. I can't afford that. Lots of people say, well, I don't know how to use a computer. Well, this is the age of digital electronics. If you're not using a computer today, you're missing out on a lot. Take a class. Often people say, well, I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to make something. We have lots of crafters in our area, and people are making crafts or selling them at craft shows, and they're making a little extra money. Learn how to do something. Everybody has talents. Everybody has the ability to do something or create something. And I often hear people say, well, I'm praying for healing. This is a really important concept. Healing is a word like trying. It's activity, but not accomplishment. Our goal should be perfect health. And what does perfect health for you look like? It's not sitting in a wheelchair in a nursing home. It's running around and playing and dancing and driving your car when you're 100 years of age. That's what perfect health should look like. So when you hear somebody say, I'm praying for healing, stop for a minute and understand that that is not the information that the spiritual realm needs to hear to help you reach your goal. You have to be precise. You want perfect health, and you need to know what that is going to look like for you when you get to a certain age. So these words and feelings that we have in our minds, where do those things come from? Well, they come from other people frequently, parents, teachers, ministers. They come from our education, our school experience, our professional experience if we went on beyond high school. They come from all of our past experiences. And sometimes we've experienced very negative, unpleasant things. And our brains and bodies are programmed for preservation, for survival. So we program these things into our system to help us learn something. So it's important to understand if you had some sort of negative experience, you don't want to go back there and do that again, but you also have to understand that the program associated with that has to be eliminated and upgraded so that you learn the lesson, but then you go on beyond that. Many of these limitations come from our religious training. So the people here in this group have much more advanced or enlightened thoughts about religion and spirituality. But lots of us are stuck in some of these old programs that we learned as a child. And then gender roles and concepts. Sometimes these are things that need to be upgraded. And then race and nationality. I was born into a Dutch family, very strict religious family, and everybody was very proud of being Dutch. Well, we were not allowed to date American girls. We had to date girls within our little group. And so this kind of thinking is often very limiting. So important thing is if you have that kind of nationality and those concepts in your background, sometimes those things need to be upgraded. So I want you to think about something from your past, something from your old teaching or school that you think might be blocking you. And again, write that down. So that's going to be on page 2. So look at those goals And think about those things that you experienced when you had your eyes closed, the things that you felt in your chest, in your gut. What were the words in your head? And think if you, see if you can think about something that's blocking you. And just write that down. Where did those things come from? Who were the people involved in that? And we write it down not to focus on it, but just to identify it so that you can fix it. I wrote this book a couple of years ago, Shortcut to Success. And there's 3 steps that I talk about in this book. The first is clearing some of this old stuff. And in the book, there are 7 different techniques. One is called destroying the old baggage. We're going to do a meditation in just a minute that will help to remove some of these old programs. Mental house cleaning, revision, affirmations, the mental enema, natural and homeopathic remedies, and then finally emotional release letter writing. And I learned this technique right here in this room. There was a speaker named Dennis Adams who was here probably 15 years ago or so, and he talked about this technique. And then I revised it some using some neuro-linguistic programming technology, and it is extremely powerful technique. I just had a lady in last week that she was estranged from her daughter and her grandchildren, and she hadn't seen these grandkids for over 5 years, had very little correspondence with the daughter. She would send them birthday presents and gifts and Christmas gifts and never hear from them. And so in August, I had her do this technique, the emotional release letter writing technique, and then to envision, following that, to envision that she was having Christmas with her kids. And she told me last week that around Thanksgiving, she got a letter from her daughter, and they've been talking on the phone, and they're going to be spending Christmas together for the first time in 5 years. Now, she did not do anything objective. She didn't reach out. She didn't make phone calls. It all occurred in her own mind and at the spiritual level. And I think what happens when we do this technique is that we reach the spiritual level of the person who's involved. And that connection that is made opens that door. And when that happens, it seems like it's the idea of the other person. So we're going to do that tonight. But before we actually do the letter writing, I'm going to take you through this process called the destroying old baggage. So what I want you to do right now is just find a comfortable position. Put your feet flat on the floor and uncross your legs so that both your feet are touching the floor. And the purpose of that is to actually ground you so that the energy from your body is flowing down into the earth and then back up into your body. Close your eyes. Inhale a deep breath. And now as you exhale, relax your body completely. Inhale another deep breath. And again, as you exhale, relax your body completely. Inhale another deep breath through your nose and feel the cool air coming in through your nose. And now as you exhale, feel warm air exhaling out through your nose. I want you to think about now the first place that you can remember living. This would probably be a place where you lived with your parents. And think about that place, very first place where you have recollections of where you lived. Now, you had experiences in that place, and some of those things were very positive and beneficial, and some of those experiences were not. And sometimes we buried those experiences. So what I want you to do now is imagine that you're flying in a little airplane, And you fly in your little airplane to the home that you have these first memories, the first home that you've ever lived. And imagine flying your little airplane and landing on the road in front of that house and getting out of the airplane and going to the front door of that house. And sitting at the front door are some suitcases, some old baggage, some things that are no longer useful from that experience, living in that house. So now load those suitcases into that little airplane. That airplane has a little cargo door, so slide those suitcases in there. And then get back in your airplane, and now fly to the next home that you lived in. And most of us have had experiences in 2, 3, 4, maybe a dozen homes. But fly to the next home that you can remember growing up. Or maybe you lived in the same house the whole time you were growing up. But the second home that you lived in, maybe it's an apartment, maybe a college dorm, maybe a home. But fly your little airplane to the next home and land the airplane on the road out in front of that home. And here again, you see some suitcases. And maybe there's some boxes. Maybe there's a lot of old baggage there. It doesn't matter. Maybe there's only one little duffel bag. It doesn't matter. Load that into your airplane. When you've got it all loaded in the airplane, take off again, flying to the next home that you lived in. And there again, after you land your plane, you're going to see some boxes and some bags and some suitcases, maybe some garbage bags. Load all of that stuff into the cargo bay of your airplane. And now continue to do that. I'm going to be quiet for a few moments. Continue to fly to the next home that you lived in. And load all of the baggage that you have from that dwelling. All of the things that happened there. You don't need to remember all of those things. They're just garbage. They're just baggage. Load that all into your plane and then fly to the next. And continue to do that. I'm going to give you some silence here while you continue to go to additional homes where you have lived. Loading all that baggage into the cargo bay. Now, if you haven't completely gone to all of the homes that you've lived in your lifetime, you can continue to do this tonight when you get home. But for now, you've got a cargo bay in your little airplane that's got a lot of baggage in it. And so I want you to imagine now flying over at a very high altitude over a large volcano that has a cauldron of bubbling lava, hot lava. And as you fly over this cauldron of hot lava, you just pull the lever and the back door of your cargo compartment opens. And all that garbage, all that baggage, all that old, unwanted, unnecessary stuff falls out of the back of your plane and down into that cauldron of hot, bubbling lava. And it is instantly incinerated, never to bother you again. Inhale a deep breath now. And as you exhale, relax your body. And feel how you feel in your heart, in your gut. What are the words that are currently in your mind? And as I said before, if you haven't completed cleaning out all those old houses and homes, continue to do that when you get home tonight. Inhale a deep breath one more time. And as you exhale, relax your body completely. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right. Anybody care to share what that experience was like? Barb.
After I dumped the garbage and the thing, and I was flying back, the airplane was so light, I was doing whirlies and toolies and all kinds of stuff. It was so good.
That's excellent. That's like the joke that we heard tonight about angels. What was the
Why
joke?
they can fly, because they take themselves lightly.
They think lightly. So anybody else feel anything different after going through that?
Much lighter.
Yeah.
More free, yeah.
So this is an experience, this is a little meditation that you can do yourself at home. And I would recommend that you do that like once a week or so between now and New Year's. One of the things that's going to help you achieve some of those goals in 2020 is cleaning out the garbage. And much of the baggage that we carry, we can't remember. Very traumatic things. Our brain is very helpful to us. It stuffs stuff away in memory, and we often don't recall many of the things that are detrimental to us. Now, we don't have to dig all that stuff up. We can just put it in that plane and dump it in the volcano and get rid of it. It's an extremely beneficial cleansing meditation. And once that stuff is gone, then your ability to clarify your goals is much, much better because you're not looking at it through the lens of those old experiences, those traumatic events. Now, some of the other techniques in the book are more targeted. And one of the things that we're going to do tonight is called emotional release letter writing. So on page 3 in your handout, it's mostly a blank page. I want you to think about something on that. If you have something on your sheet from page 2 that you feel is some sort of a block for you, you can use that. You can use something else. Maybe there's a person that you've had conflict with. Maybe there's a person that you're estranged from. Maybe you have a health condition. Maybe you have a tumor growing in your body. Maybe there is something going on, a disease or condition that you don't really want to have anymore. And what we're going to have you do then is write this letter to that person who you had a conflict with, or to that body part that you don't like, whatever it is. And write that. I'm going to limit you to 1 page here. It doesn't have to be a whole page. I've had people do this and they write 10 pages. I like to do it in about 2 or 3 sentences. Because once we're done, I'm going to have you leave the room, go different places, and have you read that letter out loud 3 times. And on the 4th page, there's an ending there. So the words that are written in bold, when you've finished writing your letter, you're going to end that with, I will no longer carry this debt, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I love you, I bless you, I release you, and I forgive you for everything I think you've done to me. And it has to be written exactly in those words, because the things that we think have been done to us are very different than what actually happened. Our brain magnifies or minimizes our previous experiences. And I've had some guys that were in the military and had PTSD because the experiences that they had, they have relived them and magnified them and grown them into huge, huge obstacles. So some of us have had those things. So what we experienced is often very different. So at the end of writing your letter, you write these 2 sentences here, just the things that are in bold, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to burn the page. So we end this little emotional releasing exercise by burning these things. We objectify it, we get it on a piece of paper, and then we burn it. And the smoke goes up to God or to the universe, whatever your beliefs are, and the ashes are going to go in the earth. And you're going to be relieved of a portion of that event. Now, I say a portion because many times these things are large enough that we have to do this a few times. I had an experience in my life where it was so traumatic that I had to write the letter 6 times. And each time I chunked off a piece, and it was like, whew, what a relief. But then in a few days, when I thought about it, I'd get this feeling in my chest again. So I'd write another letter, chunk off another piece, and after doing it 6 times, then when I thought about it, it was nothing there. It's completely removed. So that filter is now gone. So when I think about things in my life, it's no longer contaminating my thoughts and my goals and my plans for the future. So go ahead, I'm going to stop talking, and go ahead and write your letter. And if you want to do it on a separate piece of paper, you can, but it's just as easy to use this.
Are we actually gonna burn these?
We're going to go outside and we're going to burn it.
And I think I do want another piece of paper to have another.
I have a few extras of these.
I got one. That's just that second page. Great, thank you.
You have a pencil?
I do, but I don't wanna burn this piece of paper either.
Yes, you do.
No, I wanna be able to go back and work on this one.
Give you
Well,
another
it's in the book, and if you need to know what it is, just send me a text.
I got a piece of paper.
John can copy those.
Do you want one of my pieces?
Sure.
Most important thing is you do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So when we go home, if we've got more chunks and more chunks and more chunks, just do it again and again.
Yes.
Because I don't think I can get it all on one line.
No, you won't.
Paper.
That's why you only take one thing right now and just do it. Because if you say, well, I'm going to do it at home, I can guarantee you're not going to do it. So do it here. This is a workshop. All right, so let's kind of wrap that up and write those words on page 4. I will no longer carry this debt physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
We read that or we write it?
You write it. Write it on your paper after you've written your little letter. I love you, bless you, I release you, and I forgive you for everything I think you have done to me. All right, now I'm going to go outside and get things ready. I want you all to just go in a corner someplace or out in the other rooms and read your letter out loud with the endings. Do that 3 times. So you read it out loud 3 times, and then come outside, and I have a little bucket out there, and we're going to burn these. So, any questions about that? All right, so go read them, and I'll see you outside.
Let her go.
You can go back in.
I'm going to. Yes.
Do I just tear this up? Do I tear this up before I put it in?
Nope. Let me get this thing.
Glad it's not snowing.
You can put yours right there and light it from this one. You can go ahead and just light it right on from one of those. Just go ahead and put it right in there. Get going. You can put yours in there if you like.
Well, that's a nice little.
Go ahead, Nancy. Throw yours right in there.
This is not bad.
Go ahead.
Right in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Here's the one. Let her go.
Okay, everybody back? All right, now what's going to happen is just kind of be aware over the next 2 or 3 days. Sometimes you'll get an insight, sometimes it'll happen immediately, sometimes it'll happen in a dream, sometimes you're taking a shower, you're driving, you're doing something sort of automatic. You're going to get some insights into what's happening with this. And you're going to feel different about that person or this part of your body or whatever you wrote in your emotional release letter. Now, sometimes one time is all you need to do, and sometimes you have to do it a few times. Once you've done this, then you think about that person or that event, and then you feel what happens in your chest or in your gut or the words in your head. And once they're different, then you can let it go. Sometimes a month from now, you get a little insight that I should do this one more time. So kind of go with your own gut and your own feeling. Now, this is step one. It's cleaning some of the past. We've done a little bit. For some people, this is going to be a really big thing. For some people, it's just chunking off a piece. The second step in this process is clarifying your goal. So you wrote a goal on your paper, one goal in one area. So over the next 2 weeks, write several goals in each of those 5 areas. Things that you really want to see develop in your life. Things that you really desire to experience. And then the third step is thinking correctly about those goals. Now, many people think about a goal like someday I'm going to, and they think about it out there somewhere. But what you really have to do is put your consciousness into that desire. And once that is part of you, it will begin to manifest. But as long as you have it out there in the future someplace, it never can make this connection. So we're going to do a little exercise, a little meditation, and this is a process that will help put you in the correct mental state to achieve that goal. So find a comfortable position, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap, and I want you to put your palms down. Now, the reason for that is when you have your palms down, this is what's called a power position. Now, sometimes we want to receive information. Well, then we put our palms up. But if you are creating something, you're not waiting for the universe to give this to you. You're stating what it is that you desire to happen. And you expect all of the components of the universe to help you achieve that. So, hands down in a power position. Close your eyes. Inhale a deep breath. And as you exhale, relax your body completely. Inhale another deep breath. And as you exhale, relax your body completely. Inhale another deep breath. And as you exhale, relax your body completely. And now I want you to think about that goal, that experience that you desire to have in your life. And now I want you to imagine that you have already experienced it. You can make a mental movie of yourself experiencing that, but then I want you to move further into the future and imagine that it's already completed. For example, if your goal is to go on a trip to Europe, I want you to imagine that you've already done it and that you're back home safely and you're looking at the pictures that you took and you're talking to your spouse about the wonderful trip, that you have already completed that goal. And then I want you to imagine and put in this mental movie a feeling of gratitude. And in your mind, say thank you. And to enhance that a little further, I want you to imagine shaking hands with somebody. And this person is either somebody that helped you and you're thanking them for helping you reach your goal, or that person is congratulating you on your achievement. And that person is acknowledging that you have completed this goal. And so as the Bible says, where two or three of you are gathered in my name, so it shall be. When you, at the spiritual level, agree with another person, and that person mentally acknowledges your accomplishment, it has to happen. This is the final step in the creative process. And if you've cleaned up the background enough so that you can have clarity on what it is that you truly desire, and you vividly imagine it as if it's already completed, and you have a sense of gratitude, and mentally someone else acknowledges your accomplishment, it will be. Inhale a deep breath now. And as you exhale, relax your body completely. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. Now, the best time to do this little mental movie, and you can combine this with several other goals. So you can take goals from different parts of your life and combine this into a mental movie of what you want your life to look like, the things that you desire to experience. The best time to do this is just before you go to sleep. Because what happens is when you go to sleep, your subconscious mind never goes to sleep. Your conscious mind goes to sleep. You're not aware of your physical surroundings. But your subconscious mind, that inner part of you, that spiritual part of you, does not sleep. And what it does is it leaves and it goes out and starts to negotiate the deals and find the people and locate the items that are part of your goal. And so the next day, the next days, the next week, a month, it doesn't matter when, you're going to get little insights. You're going to get little intuitions. You're going to get some guidance to go someplace, to stop someplace, to talk to somebody. And what will happen is you will have these epiphanies, the aha moments. And that will bring all of these pieces together so that you can accomplish this goal. Now, to give yourself a little test, I want you to think about, in the next week, you're going to see butterflies. Now, in the middle of December, you're not going to see too many butterflies floating around in your backyard. But you're going to see butterflies. Somewhere, somehow, in a magazine, in a movie, someplace, you're going to see butterflies. And when you do that, you're going to have a little acknowledgement of your mind has the ability to attract to you that particular item, butterflies. And it's no different than any other item that you want to experience in your life. So you have these steps. Keep clearing your old stuff. Clarify those goals. Write them on a piece of paper. Rewrite those things. Rewrite them. Look at them. Read them. Get them so clear in your mind that you know exactly what it is that your desires are. And then imagine and visualize them happening as if they're already completed every night before you go to bed. And what will happen is after you do this a number of times, and I can't tell you how many times this is going to be, it depends on how clear you are of your old stuff. You're going to wake up some morning and then you're going to get out of bed and realize that it hadn't happened yet. You're going to be surprised. But once you start getting this feeling that it's already happened, then it's just simply a matter of time and that goal is going to manifest. Any questions? All right. You've started an awesome process. Yes, question in the back.
Can you repeat that about the butterflies?
Sometime in the next week or so, you're going to see a variety of butterflies. So you put that in your mind. You desire to see butterflies. And something is going to show up. You're going to see them all over the place. probably won't see them flying around your garden, but maybe. All right,
Do
Nancy,
you have a blank one of those? I could make copies for people.
blank one of what?
Our worksheet tonight.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If anybody wants a copy of it.
Yeah, I want one.
Meet me out.
The full explanation of all of that is in this book, and if you're interested in the audio version of this, I have it on audiobook. You can order it through Audible, or if you send me an email, I'll send you a free version of the audiobook. And if you're interested in the book, just call our office and we'll send you a copy. All right, have a great life.
How do we get the